Somewhere in the next 60 seconds, I'm going to describe a test that takes exactly 10 seconds, needs no equipment, no appointment, and no gym, and according to a study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine, whether you can pass it or not is tied to how long you're likely to live. Researchers followed over 1,700 adults, most of them between 51 and 75, for a median of 7 years. The test was simple. Stand on one leg unsupported, eyes open for 10 seconds. About 1 in 5 people couldn't do it. And when the researchers checked back years later, the people who failed that 10-second test had died at nearly twice the rate of the people who passed, even after accounting for age, weight, and existing illness. Not because a standing on one leg keeps you alive, because your ability to do it is a live readout of something doctors call your neuromuscular reserve, the combined health of your muscles, your joints, your inner ear, and the nerves connecting all three. And that system quietly starts breaking down years before anything else tells you. Today, the test itself, done the way physical therapists actually administer it, what your result really means, why balance fades after 50 in the first place, and the 4-week protocol that rebuilds it. Addition, not alarm. Welcome back to Well Past 50, where we treat 50 and beyond as a second athletic peak worth training for, not a slow decline to be managed. I'm not a doctor, and everything you're about to hear is backed by real cited research. The mortality study, the official clinical balance test, and the exercise science behind fixing it, all linked in the description, so you never have to take my word for it. A few videos back, we covered the 30-second chair stand test, the leg power self-test physical therapists use to flag fall risk. If you did that one, you already know your strength score. Today, we're doing the second of the 3 official tests clinicians use to check fall risk in adults over 50. This one for balance specifically, straight from the CDC's own fall prevention toolkit. Here's the shape of the next 20+ minutes. First, I'll walk you through the real 4-stage balance test, the same one used in clinics, so you can score yourself safely at home. Second, the actual science behind why that score is tied to something as serious as mortality risk, and where the research is careful not to overclaim. Third, what's actually happening in your body between 50 and 70 that makes balance harder, none of it permanent. And fourth, the specific 4-week protocol backed by a review of over 100 clinical trials that rebuilds it. Subscribe if you want 2 of these a week. Always real sources, never fear-mongering. Let's start with the test. Let's do the test properly. The same protocol physical therapists use, called the 4-stage balance test, part of the CDC's official STEADI fall prevention framework. STEADI stands for Stopping Elderly Accidents, Deaths, and Injuries. And this specific test is one of 3 tools clinics use nationwide to flag who's at elevated risk of a fall before it happens. Set up first, because safety comes before curiosity. Do this near a wall, a kitchen counter, or a sturdy chair back, close enough to catch yourself instantly, not so close you're leaning on it the whole time. Bare feet or thin-soled shoes, a clear few feet of floor, and ideally someone nearby the first time you try it, especially for the later stages. You'll need a stopwatch or your phone's timer. No canes, no walkers for the test itself. This is measuring your unassisted balance. 4 stages in order, 10 seconds each, eyes open. Stage 1. Stand with your feet together side by side, arms wherever feels natural. If you hold that for 10 seconds without moving your feet, move to stage 2. Stage 2, the semi-tandem stance. Place the instep of one foot so it's touching the big toe of the other foot, like a slightly offset stance, then hold for 10 seconds. Stage 3, the one that actually separates most people, the full tandem stance. One foot directly in front of the other, heel touching toe, like you're standing on a tightrope, 10 seconds. And the stage 4, the one from the mortality study. Lift one foot completely off the ground and stand on the other, unsupported, for 10 seconds. Here's how to score yourself honestly. If you held stage 3, the tandem, heel-to-toe stance, for the full 10 seconds, that already tells clinicians something important. The CDC's own guidance says an older adult who cannot hold that tandem position for 10 seconds is at increased risk of falling. That's stage 3, not even stage 4. So if you got through tandem, you're already ahead of a meaningful chunk of your age group. Stage 4, the single leg stand, is the stricter version, closest to what the mortality researchers actually used, though their exact protocol has one extra detail. Eyes open, arms at your sides rather than out for balance, and the moving foot's toes lightly resting against the back of the standing leg's calf rather than fully in the air, which sounds like a small difference but makes it noticeably harder. Try the CDC version first. Once that's comfortable, try the stricter arms at sides version if you want the closest match to the actual research. One honest number, so you're not comparing yourself to a stranger's Instagram post. In the mortality study, roughly 1 in 5 participants, people mostly in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, could not hold 10 seconds on one leg at all. So if stage 4 is hard right now, or you can't do it yet, you are not an outlier, you are the statistical middle. And more importantly, this entire video exists because that number is trainable, not fixed. Stop the test the moment you feel a real loss of control, not mild wobble. A little sway is normal and expected. Your body correcting itself in real time is what balance actually looks like in action, not a flaw in the test. Now the science behind why a 10-second party trick is tied to something as serious as how long you live. The study is called Successful 10-Second One-Legged Stance Performance Predicts Survival in Middle-Aged and Older Individuals, published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine in 2022, run out of the Clinimex Exercise Medicine Clinic in Rio de Janeiro. Researchers tested 1,702 adults aged 51 to 75 on the strict single-leg stance, arms at sides, eyes open, 10 seconds, 1 attempt per side, then tracked what happened to them over a median follow-up of about 7 years. The numbers: 7.5% of the people who failed the test died during that follow-up period, compared to 4.6% of the people who passed, and after statistically adjusting for age, sex, body mass, and existing conditions like heart disease and diabetes, people who couldn't hold the stance still had an 84% higher risk of dying from any cause during the study, compared to those who could. The researchers' own conclusion was direct. They suggested the 10-second stance test could reasonably be added to routine physical exams for middle-aged and older adults, alongside things like blood pressure and grip strength. Now, the honest caveat, because this channel doesn't do fear headlines, this is an association, not a guarantee, and not a countdown clock. Standing on one leg doesn't cause you to live longer or shorter. Nobody's claiming that. What the researchers argue is that your balance score is a readout, a single, easy-to-measure proxy for something much bigger. what exercise physiologists call your neuromuscular reserve, the combined real-time coordination between your muscles, your joints, your inner ear's vestibular system, and the nerves feeding information between all three. That whole system tends to decline gradually and quietly with age, well before it shows up in a blood test or a doctor's checklist, and balance happens to be one of the first places you can actually feel it happening if you know to check. There's a second piece of evidence that makes this less abstract: fall risk itself. The CDC's own injury data shows falls are the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injury among adults over 65 in the United States. And the same balance systems that let you pass a 10-second stance test are exactly what stop you from going down when you catch your toe on a rug or step off a curb wrong. So there are two separate reasons balance matters stacked on top of each other. The direct, immediate one, literally not falling, and the broader one, the mortality a study points to. Balance as an early signal for how well your whole neuromuscular system is holding up. Neither one is about a single number on a stopwatch controlling your fate. Both are about a trainable system that responds at any age to specific deliberate use, which is exactly what the rest of this video is for. So why does this system quietly weaken after 50 in the first place? Three things are happening at once, and understanding them matters because each one points directly to a fix. First, your inner ear. Buried in your skull is your vestibular system. 3 fluid-filled canals and a cluster of tiny hair cells that sense every tilt, turn, and shift of your head and feed that information to your brain dozens of times a second to keep you upright. Research on vestibular aging shows these balance hair cells decline progressively by up to 40% by age 70, and as much as 80% of unexplained or falls in older adults have been linked back to this exact system quietly underperforming. That's part of why a quick look over your shoulder or turning fast in a dim hallway can feel less steady at 60 than it did at 30, even though nothing is wrong with you in any diagnosable sense. It's simply fewer sensors sending slightly less precise signals. Second, proprioception, your body's sense of exactly where your joints and limbs are in a space without looking at them. The nerve endings responsible for this, especially in your feet and ankles, become less sensitive with age, meaning the ground itself gives you less usable information than it used to. This is one of the reasons standing on an uneven surface or in dim light gets noticeably harder after 50, even when your legs feel just as strong. Your feet are quite literally telling your brain less than they used to. Third, and this one you've likely heard on this channel before because it connects directly to the chair stand video, muscle. Specifically, the fast twitch, type 2 muscle fibers responsible for quick corrective reactions. The tiny catch-yourself lunge when you start to tip. As covered before, muscle mass declines roughly 3 to 5% per decade, starting around age 30, according to Harvard Health and Cleveland Clinic research, accelerating to 8 to 10% per decade after 60. And fast twitch fibers are disproportionately affected, shrinking and weakening faster than the slow twitch fibers used for steady, everyday standing. That means the exact muscle fibers you'd need for a split-second balance correction are often the first ones to fade, even while ordinary daily strength feels mostly fine. And a fourth factor worth naming honestly, medication. Certain common prescriptions, some blood pressure medications, sedatives, and a few others can affect balance or blood pressure regulation as a side effect, which is exactly why the CDC's own STEADI toolkit includes a medication review as one of its 3 official fall risk checks, alongside the balance and strength tests. If your balance score surprises you and you're on any of these, that's a genuinely useful thing to mention at your next doctor visit, not as an alarm, just as a data point. Here's the addition mindset part, and it's the important one. Every single one of these 4 systems, vestibular, proprioceptive, muscular, even medication-related risk, responds to deliberate practice and review. None of this is a one-way street. Balance training measurably improves vestibular compensation. Proprioceptive training measurably sharpens the signal from your feet, and targeted exercise directly rebuilds fast twitch muscle power at any age tested in the research. That's not a hopeful guess. It's the exact protocol we're covering next. Now, the protocol, and the reason this works isn't a guess. It's backed by one of the largest reviews of exercise science ever done on this exact question. A Cochrane review, the gold standard for evidence summaries in medicine, pooled 108 randomized controlled trials and over 23,000 participants across 25 countries, specifically looking at exercise and falls in older adults. The finding, exercise programs built mainly around balance and functional movement reduced the rate of falls by 24%, rated as high certainty evidence, about as strong a rating as this kind of research gets. Programs that combined balance work with strength training did even better, cutting the fall rate by 34%. This is not a fringe theory. It's one of the best supported findings in aging exercise science. Here's the 4-week version split into 2 moves you'll do daily and 1 you'll build up gradually. Move 1 every single day, no exceptions, because frequency matters more than intensity here. Single leg stance holds using the wall or counter from the test earlier. Stand near your support surface, lift 1 foot slightly off the ground, and hold as long as you can with good form, touching down and resetting whenever you need to. Aim for 3 attempts per side. The habit stacking trick that makes this actually happen. Do it while your morning coffee brews or while you brush your teeth. 2 minutes you're already spending anyway, repurposed. Move 2, 3 to 4 times a week. The tandem walk, using the same heel-to-toe foot position as a stage 3 of the test, but walking 10 to 15 steps in a straight line, 1 foot directly in front of the other, near a wall or hallway you can reach out and touch if needed. This trains dynamic balance, the kind you actually use walking on uneven sidewalks or getting up in the night, which the static stance test alone doesn't fully capture. And if you did the chair stand video, move 3 ties directly to it, 2 to 3 times a week. Pair a set of sit-to-stands from that video with today's single leg holds back to back. That combination, leg power plus balance in the same session, is precisely the multi-component style of program the Cochrane review found cut falls by 34%, not 24%. You're not starting a new program, you're combining 2 things you may already have. Progression across the 4 weeks, so this keeps working instead of plateauing. Week 1, just the daily single leg holds near full support, focusing on getting comfortable, however short the hold. Week 2, add the tandem walk 3 times and start trying the single leg hold with only fingertip support instead of a full grip. Week 3, try single leg holds with no hands touching the surface at all. though still standing close enough to catch yourself and retest the 4-stage sequence from earlier to see if you've moved further into a stage 3 or 4. Week 4, once a stage 4 feels solid with eyes open, the CDC cleared next step for people who are ready is adding gentle head turns while holding the stance, or brief eyes closed holds of just 2 to 3 seconds, only if you're already stable and always with support within reach, since removing vision is a genuine difficulty increase, not a party trick. One boundary worth being clear about: this protocol is for people who can currently stand and walk without an assistive device and have not had a recent fall. If you've already had a fall in the past year or use a cane or walker regularly, this is exactly the kind of program a physical therapist should build with you directly, in person, rather than from a video. Not because it won't help, but because your starting point needs an actual assessment, not a general one. A few honest safety notes before you try any of this. Always do the test and the exercises near a wall, counter, or sturdy chair, never in the middle of an open room your first few times. Stop immediately if you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or if a stretch or hold causes sharp pain rather than normal muscle fatigue. If you have an inner ear condition like vertigo or Meniere's disease, a recent stroke, a recent joint replacement, or you've had a fall in the past 12 months, talk to your doctor or a physical therapist before starting this protocol on your own. They may want to assess you in person first. And if you're on medication for blood pressure or to help you sleep, mention today's test results at your next appointment. As covered earlier, some of those medications can affect balance, and that's worth a 2-minute conversation, not a source of worry. Let's lock it in. The test: 4 stages, 10 seconds each, feet together, semi-tandem, tandem, single leg, the same one clinics use nationwide. The science: in a real study of over 1,700 adults, failing the single leg stage was tied to an 84% higher mortality risk, not as a countdown, but as an early signal of your neuromuscular reserve. The cause: vestibular, proprioceptive, and muscular decline, plus sometimes medication, every part of it trainable. And the fix: 2 minutes a day of single leg holds, a few tandem walks a week paired with the chair stand work from before. A combination shown to cut falls by over a third. If a 2-minute habit stacked onto your coffee or your toothbrushing routine is genuinely all it takes to start moving that number in the right direction, that's worth doing before you decide it's not for you. Subscribe to Well Past 50 twice a week. Always real, cited research, never fear. Try the 4-stage test today and tell me in the comments which stage you got to. Stage 2, 3, or the full single leg stand. No judgment either way, just your honest starting point. So next month, when we check back in, you'll actually know how far you've come. See you in the next one.